Stop scrolling, seriously, look at your thumb. It's moving at 100 miles per hour, chasing a ghost. You're watching a 22-year-old in a rented G-Wagon explain financial freedom while you are calculating if you can afford an extra guacamole on a $15 burrito. The world is a stage, and you're the only one who forgot to put on a costume. Let's talk about why you feel broke when everyone else on your feed looks like they just closed a private equity deal. Right now you're staring at a screen. You see a girl in Santorini eating pasta that costs more than your car insurance. You see a guy in Dubai grinding in a marble-floored gym at 4 a.m. Then you look down at your life. You see a half-eaten bag of chips, a sink full of dishes, and a bank account that looks like a high score you're losing. You're comparing your raw footage to their final edit. Your morning is a cold cup of coffee, a pile of laundry, and a looming sense of dread. Their morning is a 5 o'clock aesthetic workout, a green juice that costs more than your hourly wage, and a sunset that looks professionally color graded. That perfect morning took 4 hours to film, 12 tries to get the lighting right, and they went to sleep immediately after the post button was hit. Human beings were never evolved to see the perfect lives of 5,000 strangers every morning before we even brush our teeth. Your brain is wired to find your place in the tribe, but when the tribe you're looking at is a global collection of 0.1% of filtered beauty and rented wealth, your brain is telling you only one thing: you're failing. Oh, you aren't behind in life. You're just the only person who forgot to bring a professional camera crew to a breakfast. Stop looking for truth in a thumbnail. The internet isn't a window into someone's life. It's a billboard for their ego. And you're staring at the billboard, wondering why your backyard doesn't look like a high-budget advertisement. If you keep measuring your worth by someone else's Final Cut Pro expert, you will stay broke, not just in your wallet, but in your soul. But it's not just a mindset problem, it's a math problem. Once you have fallen for the trap of comparing yourself to their highlights, the next logical step in the delusion is trying to buy your way into the frame. You think if you look the part, you'll eventually become the part. You start chasing the aesthetic of success before you even build the substance. This brings us to the most expensive lie on the internet, the era of the $100,000 broke person. In 2026, looking like a CEO is a full-time job that pays exactly $0. You see the digital nomad at Beach Club? They have been nursing one $18 cocktail for 6 hours because the Wi-Fi is free and their credit card is screaming for mercy. They are working in a paradise, but they can't afford to leave the hotel lobby. Let's look at the math that nobody wants to post. You see a freelancer making $8,000 per month and you feel like a failure. But here is the reality check. 30% goes to taxes immediately. That's $2,400 gone. Another $2,500 goes to the static office lease and the apartment they only got so they could have a white wall background for their videos. Toss in $1,000 for software and masterminds and $500 for camera gear they bought to look professional. After the dust settles, they're left with $1,600. That is $10 per hour to look like a millionaire. You aren't an entrepreneur, you're a high-end volunteer for your own ego. You are sitting in a coffee shop wearing $200 outfit, waiting for a $500 invoice to clear, just so you can pay for the data plan you used to post about abundance. You aren't building a business, you're funding a custom. While you're trying to look like the boss, the actual boss is wearing a $5 t-shirt and checking their dividends in private. Stop playing a character in a movie that isn't making any money. The bank doesn't accept a cloud as a mortgage payment. But even if you realize you've been sold a lie, you still can't seem to put the phone down. You know the boss in the coffee shop is broke, and you know the girl in Santorini is miserable, but you still feel the tightening in your chest every time you refresh your feed. That's because this isn't an accident. You aren't just a consumer, you're a victim of a calculated psychological operation. The algorithm doesn't show you what you like, it shows you what you lack. It knows exactly which version of success makes your stomach drop, and it serves it to you at 7 a.m. before you even get off the bed. It doesn't want you to be inspired. Inspired people put their phones down and go build things. It wants you to be paralyzed. It feeds you a steady diet of 19-year-olds in penthouses and 24-year-olds retiring their parents to trigger your primal survival responses. In the wild, being at the bottom of the tribe meant you didn't eat. The machine mimics that threat. It makes you feel like you are starving in the room where everyone else is feasting. You keep scrolling because you're desperately looking for a secret to a problem that app itself created. Every minute you spend feeling less than is a $1 billion win for a server farm in California. The platform's stock price is fueled by your cortisol. They don't want you to have a bank account that reflects your worth. They want you to have a screen time report that reflects your obsession. You are donating your life force to a curated loop of people who are often as miserable as you, staring at their own phones, waiting for their validation to load. The trap is believing that the feed is a window. It's not. It's a funhouse mirror. You have forgotten that the most vital parts of human life, the grit, the boring compound interest, the quiet stability, are invisible because they don't get clicks. The digital cage of envy doesn't just make you feel bad, it makes you feel desperate. And desperation is a terrible financial advisor. When the algorithm convinces you that you're the only one not feasting, you stop looking for a ladder and start looking for a custom. You decide that if you can't actually be successful yet, you can at least look successful now. You tell yourself it's marketing, it's branding, but in reality you are just building a prison of high-end labels and list dreams. Fake it till you make it is a suicide mission for a bank account. Most people are so busy trying to look like they have arrived that they never actually leave the driveway. They spend their first $10,000 on a watch to signal status to people they don't even like, instead of putting that money into an index fund where it can actually grow into freedom. You are trading a piece of your future for a shiny circle that tells you exactly how much time you are wasting. A facade is a liability, a foundation is an asset. When you buy the lifestyle before the life, you are building a skyscraper on a swamp. You are paying a premium to lie to the world, and the interest on that lie is compounding every single day. The moment the wind blows, the moment that the client walks away or the market drips, the whole thing sinks. And when it does, everyone will see that you weren't making it, you were just acting. The most dangerous lie is the one that you tell yourself, that the image of success will eventually attract the reality of it. It won't. It only attracts more people who are also faking it. Real wealth is quiet, real wealth is boring, it is built in the dark, messy, raw footage you are too afraid to post. If you have to spend money you don't have to prove that you have money you aren't making, you aren't an entrepreneur. You're just a consumer in a very expensive costume. The world doesn't need more actors, it needs people with foundations who don't crumble when the Wi-Fi goes down. The problem with the facade is that it requires constant maintenance. It's a full-time job, pretending to be someone who has already won, leaving you with zero energy to do the work that is required to win. We have become the society that values the signal of wealth over the substance of it. But while the actors are busy fighting for the spotlight, the real players are moving in the shadows, and they play in a completely different game, with a completely different set of rules. The truly wealthy are invisible. You've been conditioned to think that wealth looks like a logo-embossed hoodie, a gold chain, and a table at a club. That's not wealth, that's a bill. That is money leaving a bank account to fund someone else's profit margin. Real wealth is the guy in the 10-year-old truck wearing a faded t-shirt who owns the apartment complex you are living in. He has $2 million in liquid assets and doesn't check the price tag in a decade. But you'd never know, because he doesn't need your like to feel secure. This is the war between stealth wealth and loud poverty. Financial appearance is a performance for strangers. Financial literacy is a strategy for your bloodline. If you have to prove to the people on the internet that you have money, You don't have wealth. You have an insecurity that you're trying to hide with a high-interest debt. The moment you are buying a depreciating asset to show your success, you have just delayed your actual freedom by another 3 years. Wealth is the money you don't spend. It is the autonomy to say no to a toxic boss. It is the ability to wake up on a Tuesday morning and decide you aren't working today. You can't buy that at a designer store. You can't lease that for a music video. The internet has turned poverty into a lifestyle brand. It tells you that if you aren't balling, you aren't living. But balling is just another way of saying you're broke with a better lighting. Stop trying to look rich for people who are just as broke as you are. Start being wealthy for the person you'll be in 10 years. The bank doesn't care about your aesthetic, it only cares about your balance. Once you stop trying to buy a seat at a table that doesn't exist, the air gets a lot thinner. You realize that the weight you've been carrying wasn't the struggle to survive, it was the struggle to be seen surviving. You've been playing a game where the only way to win is to stop playing. When you finally stop seeking approval from a screen, you reclaim the energy you need to build something that actually exists. It's time to throw away the digital scoreboard and look at the only metrics that actually can set you free. In a world obsessed with views, start obsessing over a value. In a world obsessed with likes, start obsessing over liquidity. We've been tricked into believing that success is a public event. If it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen. If it wasn't liked, it wasn't good. But the most profound successes in your life will never be captured on a 4K sensor. They are the quiet mornings when you don't feel anxious about your bills. They are the deep, undistracted hours of work where you actually created something of substance. They are the moments of enough in the culture that is addicted to more. Success isn't when everyone thinks you've made it. Success is when you can turn off your phone, sit in a quiet room, and realize you don't owe anyone an explanation. The shocking truth is that no one is thinking about you as much as you think they are. They aren't judging your raw footage, they're too busy frantically editing their own highlight reels to keep their own insecurities at bay. You're performing for the audience that is half asleep and looking for an exit. Stop playing a game where the rules designed to make you lose. Shifting the metric from external validation to internal peace is the ultimate power move. It makes you unfoolable, it makes you dangerous to the system because you can no longer be manipulated by envy or sold a lifestyle you don't need. Go offline, build your foundation, become a ghost to the feed and a titan in your own reality. True freedom isn't having everyone know your name, it's having the bank account and the peace of mind. That means you never have to care if they do. If you are still here, you're already ahead of the most. You stopped scrolling and started listening. That's the first step to breaking the loop. If this hit a nerve, it's because it's the truth you've been ignoring. Don't forget to subscribe. We're building foundations here, not facades. Thank you for your time. Now go put that phone down and do the work that no one will ever see. It was Mary with you, and I'll see you in the next one.